I cannot believe that that is where we are going to end this season. You gave us a shortened season, 7 episodes, and that is where we are going to end it. I mean, I kind of get it, but I'm mad about it, and I'm going to talk about it. If this is one of your first times joining us, welcome. If you've been here before, my name's Matt. This is Down Once More Pod. I am going to be talking my instant reaction and thoughts to the season 2 finale of The Last of Us, titled Convergence. I am not an expert by any means. I am someone who played the games. I am someone who enjoyed the games. I am someone who has feelings and emotions on this series that we are watching. I will give spoilers for this finale episode, obviously. That's what I'm talking about. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to do a full recap of the episode, and I'm not going to give spoilers for what comes in the future of the games until the time that is listed in the time code in the description of the episode. So, and I'll give a verbal cue if you're listening on audio as well to, hey, this is the time, skip ahead. Close your ears if you want to go into season 3 untainted. But let's get into it. I don't know how to feel about this finale episode. There were things I enjoyed, things I didn't. Let's start with some of the things I enjoyed first. I did enjoy getting to see more of Jesse's character. However, the issue that I do have with that is that how Jesse is written in this game, I feel and Young Mazzino does a great job portraying him, but how he is written in the game, I feel like is a lot more angry, a lot more kind of high and mighty. He has those moments, those traits in the game, but I don't know, but I do enjoy getting to see a little more interaction and time with Jesse. We get some in the game, but in the game, I feel like he's kind of like this perfect kind of exemplary figure who he handles everything well in the game. Here, not necessarily. The episode opens up with Dina and Jesse when he's trying to patch her up, and Dina freaking out on him. Dina throughout the show has been kind of the rock, and this, she is freaking out, she is panicking, and some of it, what we're getting is what she's telling Jesse, she can't die, and then refusing to take the alcohol. Very clear clues to him that she's pregnant, and so I think that's what we're seeing is Dina has kind of lost a little bit of her edge. She has the fight to live still, but she's a little panicky knowing that she has to worry about this baby as well, and that she can't die because that's someone else's life who is dying. Someone else who is dying too. What she's saying. We're not getting into that whole debate. But I did enjoy that. What I have been having such a hard time coming to grips with this season, I've been talking about it almost every week on here, is that I'm trying to accept that show Ellie is a completely different character than game Ellie. And I'll be honest, watching the show, I feel like I would enjoy it so much more if I had never played the game. I wish I would have watched the show and then played the game. Because in my opinion, season 1, they cut some things out, but I felt like most of the changes that they made to the kind of story arc and the character arcs that we see played out in this show were for the better. For the most part, there are still some things I didn't necessarily agree with. This one, every change and every decision they've made has kind of rubbed me the wrong way. They are trying to, Ellie in the game, is very cold and calculating, and she is smart. They keep dumbing Ellie down in this series, it feels like, and I don't know why. Bella Ramsey is a capable actor. I think they can do a really good job in some of the scenes, and there's some... I'm so torn, because some scenes they portray emotion and this just kind of numbness so well, but then there's others, I can't see them as intimidating as Ellie. This Ellie, maybe it's the size, like you have when Ellie and Jesse are walking through the city and just kind of the side by side. Ellie looks like a 12-year-old and Jesse looks like a full-blown adult. The size difference is off. Their looks, facial expressions is off. In the beginning of this episode, when Ellie makes it back to the theater and goes and checks on Dina because she's worried about her, and Dina starts taking care of Ellie, has her take her shirt off, and looks and sees all the scratches and bruising on her back, which most likely from all the stalkers attacking her was kind of what I had picked up and was remembering from that. And it just has the camera shot on Bella Ramsey's face as Ellie. Ellie, I don't know how, almost looks younger than the season 1 Ellie. That's 14. And this is Bella Ramsey is 21, I believe, probably 20 when this was shot. And so not that young, but doesn't look even remotely 19. And during that whole scene, the emotion, there's just the numbness across Ellie. And Ellie's like, I made her talk. I thought it would be harder to do, but it wasn't. It was easy, and I just kept hurting her. So I'm like, maybe we're going to see this is now the unhinged, cold, calculating Ellie, just a little more brutal Ellie that we got in the game. But no, because immediately after that, Ellie's like, well, maybe Nora didn't actually deserve it, and tells Dina about what Joel did and explains that. And Craig Mazin, I think it was Craig Mazin, in the after episode little chat even said that, I think it was actually the director, that says there's kind of then a little bit of a rift between Dina and Ellie when Ellie reveals that. And then guess what? Dina can also process all of these complicated emotions. It took her a night, where it took Ellie like a minute after when Joel revealed it to her. But then Dina gives Ellie the bracelet for good luck when they're going to go after Tommy the next morning. But that's something that was different from the games. I'm just going to call that out. In the games, Ellie never fully tells Dina about what Joel did. And that's part of why their relationship in the games is a little bit more tense and fractured, I think, because there's just that lingering seeming like Ellie's holding back and not fully trusting Dina and sharing that side of her. But there were so many moments through this when Jesse and Ellie are walking through the city and Jesse's just pissed. Like, this version of Jesse is pissed compared to game Jesse. But Ellie just is so dumb when Jesse's kind of explaining about how he knows that Dina's telling Ellie more than she tells him, maybe someday, but she told Ellie that things like that, she's pregnant, and then Ellie just blurting it out, and then it's like, oh shit, you didn't know? Like, you were just guessing? Like, I don't know. It's still, I can't take this Ellie as seriously, and I feel like Ellie's motivations in this show are all over the place. She goes back and forth from being the brutal killer, like borderline, like torturing, beating Nora to get Abby's location, to then being like, hey, we have to save this Scar kid that's getting Scar Seraphite that the wolves are torturing. And she's pissed at Jesse because Jesse's like, we can't. There's so many of them, only one of us. It's their war, not ours. And she's pissed. And then she ends up getting mad at Jesse later, saying, you think you're so good, you just let that kid die. And they do have an interesting dialogue about community. Jesse talking about how he voted against Ellie going out, and Jackson sending people with Ellie for the revenge party, if you will, nod to Mean Girls, the musical pod originally. So they're talking, he's like, it wasn't what was best for the community in Jackson, and Ellie's pissed. She's like, well, you have that community, that's what you do everything in service of. Joel was my community, and he's gone. So don't sit here and say you wouldn't do the same thing. But Ellie's still just using it to justify going after Abby, because she figures out, puts the pieces together from Nora's 2-word clue of whale and wheel, that Abby is at the aquarium, and goes after Abby on her own. Jesse's going after Tommy because they've heard the snipers. That's Noskar. They know this is Tommy. Played the game, you also would have known that's Tommy and put 2 and 2 together on your own. But there is another moment where this episode is intercut with scenes of Isaac and what the WLF, what the Wolves are doing as well. So there's a scene where Park, who we were introduced to in episode 5, maybe. I think it was 5. Goes to Isaac and they're talking about their plan, getting everyone ready for the attack overnight. Isaac's saying pretty much everyone's going to die. Most likely all the rank and file, a lot of the others out there. But the entire army, he cares so much about Abby because the entire army is pretty much sheep. Abby was supposed to lead and be the one who secured their future because he's trying to figure out where Abby is. Park says no one's seen Abby since yesterday. There's no sign of Owen. Now Mel's disappeared too. So we have this kind of hint that they're not with the WLF. They're out doing their own thing. There's something going on there. And that's something we get hinted a lot in this episode of things that are happening elsewhere that are kind of cluing you in to maybe you'll find out more about this later. And that was a little distracting for me. I'm not going to lie. But I do have to give a shout out. Ellie picks up the monster at the end of the book, the Sesame Street book here. And that was one of my favorites as a kid growing up and reading that. But basically, another thing that was added in this episode is Ellie, when she takes her little motorboat and is trying to get to the aquarium, a big wave knocks her off, she lands on the Scars, the Seraphites Island, and they take her and they're going to do their whole disembowelment thing. And then there is a horn and they're like, hey, we're being attacked. The home is, let her go. And Ellie leaves. That scene just kind of pissed me off. Maybe if I didn't play the game, it wouldn't have. That's something that doesn't happen in the game. In the after episode, the co-writer, she said that, yeah, this was something that was originally going to be in the game, and then we cut it. And they were excited to revisit it. Why? You are doing a TV show, and you've expanded on other things, and you decided to do a shorter season with it. Why would you add that scene back in? The reason they were tried to say in the justification after the episode, which maybe it works for some people, it didn't for me, that they're like, well, this is Ellie getting to see that the people that she wanted to save earlier, that they're still just kind of this indoctrination, even the kid at a young age and all of this. Okay, sure. It just made me mad. And I wish I wasn't like this. I wish I could just enjoy things. I've said on the pod before in relation to other things, let people enjoy things. What's so wrong? If it's not your experience, it's not. And I want to be like that. But I really enjoyed this game and the story of it, and where I did I didn't have time for a replay, so I rewatched all the cutscenes and saw the story leading up to this. All the cutscenes of the game put together are 10 hours. We are splitting this into 2, maybe 3 seasons, and I feel like things still feel rushed. This episode felt so rushed, and it just went bam, 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 one thing after another, especially at the end where you have Ellie gets to the aquarium. She sees Mel and Owen, hears them arguing about something to do with Abby. Owen saying he doesn't have a choice because it's Abby. Mel says, yeah, you do, and I'm choosing no, also because it's Abby. Owen just saying he's going to do it on its own anyway. Mel says, fuck you, which the Mel saying fuck you is also directly from the game, and then sees Ellie. Owen's like, hey, remember me? I'm the one who said to let you live and keep you alive, trying to play that card. Ellie tells Mel to bring her a map, point out where Abby is, and then Owen will, and they better match. This is something that's come up multiple times in the show. It came up multiple times in the game. That was also from the game. But in the game, Owen and Mel, a lot more dramatic, a lot more angry with each other than this is. and how it plays out in the show. And if you don't want a spoiler for how it happens in the game, skip about a minute, 2 minutes ahead. This is interjected. It's the same end result that's in the show. But if you're like, I'm going to go play the game now and want to experience how it plays out, skip from ahead now. In the show, Owen decides to go for a gun. Ellie reluctantly shoots him because Ellie said, I'm going to let you guys live. Reluctantly shoots him. It kills him. The bullet goes through him and grazes Mel's neck, and Mel starts bleeding out. And Mel opens her jacket to reveal she's pregnant. Ellie, Jesus, I keep doing that tonight. Ellie starts almost like breaking down, and Mel's like, come here, you have to cut it out, and is going to try to talk through it. Ellie's like sobbing, can't figure out how to do it, not capable of doing that. No. In the game, Owen attacks Ellie because they're close together. Ellie's holding him at gunpoint, has the map in one hand for Mel. Owen attacks. Ellie shoots Owen in the stomach, and then Mel attacks Abby. Jesus Christ. Attacks Ellie, comes at Ellie with a knife, and then Ellie fights back and then stabs Mel in the neck and kills Mel, and then goes to Owen to try him to say where Abby is. And Owen's like pointing at Mel and saying she's and starts saying she's pregnant. And then Ellie flips her over, opens a jacket, sees that she was pregnant, starts having a panic attack, and instantly Jesse and Tommy show up. The whole Mel trying to talk Ellie into cutting out the baby does not exist in the game. And they said in the after episode that Craig Mazin suggested adding Mel asking Ellie to cut the baby out, and then just seeing that Ellie's not skilled enough to do it and feels like she's lost every sense of who she is. I don't know. I don't feel like it made it. I think it all goes to show that the point that I said, that they're trying to make Ellie not seem as brutal and unlikable in the show as the Ellie in the game is. The Ellie in the game is a lot more violent and doesn't really give a shit. Is just wants to kill everyone, not just Abby, is what it seems like. And the other thing that really rubbed me the wrong way is, so we have after that, it goes boom, boom, boom. Ellie kills Owen, Mel accidentally. Mel tries to get her to save the baby, can't. Jesse and Tommy show up. Then they're back in the theater having a conversation about how they're going to get back to Jackson. Ellie's kind of upset, but also just kind of resigned. And Ellie's mad that Abby just gets to live. And Tommy asks if she'll be able to make peace with it, and she says she guess she'll have to. Tommy heads out, sense kind of tension between Jesse and Ellie. They have more of a conversation, and there is kind of more of a discussion and resolution between the two of them. Some forgiveness. Jesse says part of why he came back is he knew if it was him that was out there, then Ellie would set the world on fire to save him. And then they hear scuffle, run out, and Jesse gets shot instantly. Shot in the head, dead, lying there. So you see this kind of, like I said, he was a little more rough around the edges at time, but it's because he was trying to do what was best for his community and caring about others. He says earlier in the fight with Ellie about that. Hey, you see him just die in an instant. And so Ellie's now getting to see someone else that she really cared about, that we just established she would burn the world down for him, set the world on fire to save him, die. And Abby has Tommy at gunpoint. My notes are autocorrected gun to fun, apparently. It tells Ellie to stand up, or she shoots him. Abby had not realized it was Ellie until this moment, because she'd never seen Tommy before, or Jesse for that matter. Those new people to her in the world of the show. And so when Ellie stands up, she has a moment of realization. And here, Ellie says she didn't mean to hurt Abby's friends. She was looking for her. That's not something that's portrayed in the game. It is Ellie's going to do whatever it takes and hurt whoever it takes to get to Abby. She was most likely going to kill Owen and Mel regardless in the game with how her character had been portrayed at that point. She's just racking up a body count. She is brutal. She does have the occasional panic attacks. She does have that like conscious and just that dealing with that overwhelming aspect. In the show, it's more crying and breaking down. We're not having like panic attacks, anxiety, which we got some of Joel having in season 1 when Maria shows up to bring Ellie into Jackson, and he thinks he's going to lose Ellie, and he has that moment kind of like of a panic attack, not knowing what to do. That's kind of what Ellie does in the games in part 2 in certain moments. But this episode, how it's portrayed, Ellie says that. She says, I know what Joel did. He did it for me. I'm the one you want. And Abby says, we let you live and you wasted it. Points the gun at her, and then you hear a gunshot, fades to black. Give us a nice few seconds leaving on black, and then it cuts to Manny waking up Abby. And Abby goes out, walks through and looks out over the stadium, sees the WLF, the Wolf Camp, and then it has the pop-up Seattle Day 1, which is exactly what happens in the games. It pops up a little bit sooner than that, but we're there. It is official. Maureen O'Hara had confirmed it earlier in the week during an interview that season 3 was going to be focusing more on Abby, and they left us with that at the end of this episode as well. I have to say, I have to kind of tip my cap and applaud them for doing it. However, I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people who are just experiencing the story for the first time, not the games, and aren't part of the toxic online community with this, that's just shitting over on every decision. Even though it seems like I'm doing that, I'm not. I'm doing it out of love and care, and I'm not shitting on the actors and themselves. But I didn't think they would do it because I feel like, this is just my assumption, that viewership is going to drop in season 3, especially if we have another 2-year delay between seasons, which it sounds like they're not even going to start filming until 2026 sometime, which, I mean, that's only like another 6 months or so. But I don't know. I wish they would have been able to film these seasons at the same time. And now we have Craig Mazin saying that he doesn't see any way that they'll be able to finish the story, the narrative that they're wanting to tell, complete the narrative in a 3rd season. Why not? Can't you do more episodes? Maybe it's not. I don't deal with budgets, but we did one less episode this season. Push that episode until next season. Like, I get with, it didn't make sense to have another episode this season that's another Abby-centric one. However, I feel like you could have given this season, there were some moments you could have given it a little bit more room to breathe. And now you're setting it up where season 3 is going to be almost entirely Abby-focused. I do think it's good that they tipped their cap with that at the end here, so that if they would have just ended on the gunshot and that would have been the cliffhanger, people would have been pissed coming into season 3, ones who didn't get things spoiled for them, expecting it to pick up from there. And instead, it opens with Abby and Seattle Day 1, and you have an entire season of her story. Whew. I'll talk some more about it in the spoiler section. I don't want to spoil some other things, but I don't know how I feel about that choice. It is a difficult narrative structure to adapt into the show. So I don't know. But before I get into spoilers from the game, biggest takeaways away from this, we're getting to see Abby. This is the first time since episode 2 that we've seen Abby. I think I have a hard time understanding Ellie's emotions and where she's at with everything. Her character motivation, I feel like, is all, not motivation, but her character kind of arc and feelings and moral compass is all over the place with this, with the show. And I'm having a hard time with that. But they did have pregnant Mel die because of Abby, and I was wondering if they were going to do that or not, and they did. And we got some other things I'll talk about in the spoiler section, kind of foreshadowing for season 3 that looks like we're going to get too. So I don't know. I need to try to go into season 3 even more of a backseat, because this season, where I just done the rewatch of the story itself of part 2, it was fresh, and how much I enjoyed it and what they did and those characters' emotions and motivations. And I feel like so much of that is getting stripped back and kind of softened a little bit for the show. And I'm having a hard time with that, but I need to enjoy it for what it is. It's a different medium. It is a different experience, and it's a new way to enjoy this story. And I'm getting to enjoy this version of it for the first time, and I should be more grateful. I'm just not, but I should be. Ideally, in a perfect world, I would be. Okay, let's get into some spoilers from the game. We have at one point when Ellie and Jesse, they get up to the building when they're kind of looking for Tommy. Actually, no, I lied. It's when they're walking through before then. You see them looking up at the building, and you see a crane from building to building, and kind of scaffolding. And that is a nice nod from a scene in the game. Did I say spoilers? If I'm doing spoilers. A scene in the game between Abby and Lev. We did also see at the aquarium, just like in the game, Ellie comes across some bloody bandages and a bloody bone saw. Now it's the game, which is when Yara has to get her arm chopped off. And so looks like we'll be getting full Yara and Lev story potentially, which, I mean, you have to. That is such a big part of Abby's character arc and kind of her little bit of redemption arc, and her seeing the other side and kind of empathizing and sympathizing and learning more about the Seraphites and the Scars story. One thing that I don't necessarily agree with, but I get why the directors did it, is where they are making season 3 Abby's story. They wanted to, I'll do this after the fact because it's not necessarily spoilers, but there's so many hints to things that happen in the second half of the game and Abby's side of the game that I'm just having a hard time with, but the minimal for spoilers there. So that's going to do it for spoilers. Okay. I will say now, just kind of my final thoughts wrapping up this episode. I understand why they are giving us so many hints at other things and why we got introduced to Abby and her motivations, backstory in episode 1 of season 2. It's because they're doing season 3 as the Abby season, and so they need to kind of make this character a little bit more kind of redeemable, and you have to empathize with them a little bit more and know their motivations ahead of time so that you tune in for season 3. That, my prediction, that's why we're also getting these flashbacks, and we're getting to see more about the Seraphites, and we're getting to see flashbacks of Isaac, and we're getting to see more conversations with Isaac as well. And we landed on the Scar Island, and we saw explosions of a battle going on there. We're getting these hints because they want to make sure you tune in for season 3 to see how those play into things and what happens. So I get it. From a TV creator standpoint, you want to have those plugs, because if you don't have those plugs, you don't have these threads to make people care about Abby and want to see that story and not just be completely like, fuck you, which they probably already are because, hey, she killed Joel. But if you want to have any chance of making people tune in, you have to help people understand this person's motivations ahead of time. And so we're throwing all that in now and throughout the season. And like I said, we're having all these hints of what's to come. So I get now why they did that framing structure. I just don't know that I love it. We'll see. Maybe when I do a rewatch of the series as a whole, binge it front to back, try to do it without taking notes alongside, just soak it in and enjoy it. Maybe I'll have different thoughts. Talk about that in a few weeks on the normal pod. But that's going to do it. That wraps up The Last of Us Season 2, these instant reaction recaps. If you've followed the pod, subscribed because of them, thank you. Appreciate you all. Hopefully you'll stick around. We like to have a lot of fun here. It is a primarily musical focused podcast. Next week's episode, we're reviewing the pro shot of Next to Normal that is on PBS for you to watch. And then the week after that, though, we're going back to movies and TV. I'm talking what's coming to streaming. Max is officially rebranding to HBO Max again. We're coming back because it was stupid for them to drop the most recognizable and important part of their name. But I'll be doing a recap of what's coming to streaming in 2 weeks. So the first episode in June. And then weekly, mix it up. Brad will join sometimes. We'll do random drafts. I'll do movie reviews. I do reviews of what's touring the country, musical shows. So yeah, musical focused. We'll do musical movie reviews. And like I said, there's random TV and movie stuff thrown in there too. So your best bet would be to subscribe on YouTube. You follow a couple of the playlists on there. We've got one for TV talk. We got one for movies, streaming recommendations. And then we'll see you back here for season 3 in probably 2 or 3 years. But stay tuned. Between that and did House of the Dragon, I'll probably do the Hedge Knight series. I forget if that's the official title. One about Dunk and Egg, based on that book series from George R.R. Martin and the Game of Thrones world, where I discuss that on here and do recaps for that. So stay tuned. Lots of exciting things. Hope you stick around. See you next week's episode. Like I said, nothing on Sunday, but Wednesday's episode is a review of the Next to Normal Pro Shot, one of my favorite musicals. Another thing where they censored it and made it softer than they needed to, but that was just changing the words. They didn't actually cut out songs or anything. But fuck is apparently okay to be replaced with fig, and we can't say sucks. We have to say stinks. But I digress. That's for Wednesday's episode. Tune into that. Thank you all. Appreciate all the love with these. Appreciate those of you who have watched at the end. If you're still watching at this point, throw a comment, throw a like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thank you all. And don't forget to go down once more. Later.